Well, hello, Sid. Are you there? I can't hear you. Oh, okay. You're not there. You're just recording. So welcome. This is we're at a midpoint in a sprint here, and we gave you an update last week, but we want to bring you up to speed because we've actually had a tremendous amount of progress in just the last week. So after we spoke, we got on the phone with Nkwashi and got our feedback, got the second round of feedback from them. They shared some very exciting things about a need for an admin interface and a few other sort of like basic points of feedback on the UI. But basically, I think it was largely right track. And so we are excited and think that we actually can start building. So what we want to talk about today is what we think it'll take to actually begin building. And with that in mind, we have developed a framework plan for what we think would be an MVP by the end of the year that would allow us to have a basic security flow up and running and be able to handle resident chat. And we think we also have there are a few options there that we still might flesh out, but the basic idea is that we think we can stand up a product by the end of the year that will be useful for Nkwashi, and excited to get there. Jay, anything you wanted to add on that?
No, I think the biggest thing that's like really exciting, right? Like the two sides of this that are really exciting. Number one is as we walk through the first set of like product vision and wireframes with the administrative team at Nkwashi, like you can kind of get a sense of how we might work together to like get those those services and experiences right to what that team and that city really, really needs. So I just thought that was great. And they're like highly collaborative at this point. And so the thing that I think is like really moving forward is that collaboration. And if that's what we're starting with, like we're in a really good place. And then the second thing is like with each passing conversation with them and conversation with some of the support team that we've got here on the engineering side, like the more people get invested in what we're building. And so and like want to like someone who is like giving us two hours of their advice is now giving us like 2 days of their advice because like they're just like invested in the problem that we're trying to solve for. That was the case with bringing Mark on as kind of like an advisor to us on how to do some of the early build out here. And coming out of that call with Nkwashi, like he's just like even more deeply interested in trying to help us make this thing happen. So all the bits are working in the right direction on that.
Great. So then just to sort of go through sort of the high level points of the end of year plan, what we are proposing to do moving forward is bring on Mark as a contractor through the end of the year. And he has ideas of also and some relationships. Actually, we have 2 different sets of relationships with different engineering companies in Africa that have engineers there. And we have one that's through Jay's network and another through Mark's network. But we think we can actually bring on some really good talent also in a contract way there. I think the other thing is we have we found a contract designer that that I've met with and talked with, and Jay's going to meet later this week, that we're excited about working with. And then we also think it would make sense to start thinking about a trip to Nkwashi for some group of people, including probably me and Jay and maybe one other person if we're able to do that. So we think that with the combination of these things, we will be able to make a lot of progress, actually. I guess, Jay, anything else that we should share in this update? I guess one of the things that we considered or that we wanted to talk a little bit more about is one question of whether it makes sense to move forward with contracting versus hiring full-time. And so we had a good amount of discussion around this, so I think it's sort of worth at least calling out why we think it makes sense to go. Basically, we think that there's actually a product that is ready to be built, and that we have a trusted relationship with somebody who is available to do contract work nearly full time, is excited and eager about the product, and in fact was incredibly helpful this week putting together an MVP proposal and mapping out an end-of-year sprint plan. And with all of this, we think that that will give us, he's actually fantastic at getting new products up and running, and that's exactly his forte. So I think that being able to get that going and make progress will have tremendous momentum, and B, it'll just put us in a place where we know so much more, having people on the ground, having product that's in use, having real world use cases running through our system. We're just going to learn so much faster by doing it that way. So I think that we're going to gain a lot by having a contract team going, and I don't see the risk of not bringing on full-time as being terribly concerning in the near term. But that contract engineer has also said he's very happy to help us do technical due diligence on candidates. So I think it can also accelerate that, and we will continue to search in the meantime.
Yeah, I'll just add in that I think that there's a lot of benefit that we get by keeping the momentum going with the customer at Ninkwashi, and actually like building with them right now, as opposed to continuing to draw that relationship out with at the vision level and not at the product level. So lots of momentum benefits that we get from moving forward in this way.
Great. So I wanted to also just give a high-level overview of what we're considering for the MVP and how we're thinking about it. So there are three kind of use cases, I guess macro use cases, that we have thought about as potential first candidates. Excuse me. One is security access. So just how does somebody come to the front gate and get logged in so that a security guard knows to say, yes, I can let this person in. The second is resident communications, where the city and residents both have a chat window that is able to that they're able to interact with each other. And the third would be payments, where a resident can actually, I think for the MVP there, we would probably have the residents see the payments that they have made rather than necessarily be able to make them through the system. I think that's a little bit, that depends a little bit on some things that we still need to do some technical due diligence on whether we can get a payment platform like Stripe up and running in Zambia. So I'd say that's still an open question mark, but being able to see the status of payments and interact with the city around that, I think could be very valuable. Jay, any thoughts, color you want to add on those three top level use cases?
I mean, I think that the biggest thing is that, like, even just by putting down on paper an articulation between me and you and Mark on what this MVP might look like, and like why we're picking these user stories first, and why we're picking these goals first. Like we're working our way through all sorts of questions on like how do you actually get the momentum started. What type of digital architecture are we really talking about, and what things do we like know that we can actually get like create value out of it on like kind of a really clear use case versus like having to design for a wide variety of edge cases from the get-go. So a lot of that dialogue back and forth and on making decisions about where we're starting has been really good for the team. And Sid, you can take a look at the Ninkwashi MVP document to see some of the like how that kind of thinking is evolving.
Yeah. So at this point, our leading hypothesis and what I think we'll probably move forward with is the security access one. And the thinking behind this is that this one is the most straightforward and has the fewest it's a controlled environment where there's an immediate value proposition of being able to know who's coming in and out. And it's something where the people that are the primary people are all on payroll. And so it's a little bit easier to try to roll something out. We think we have enough context to be able to get that going in the next couple of weeks, and that we're tentatively planning a trip to Ninkwashi in October that would have that would be a fantastic opportunity to learn much more about the resident use cases and be able to understand what it is that what the context is that residents are coming in and how those things need to be communicated.
Yeah, let me
And
just
so,
can I just add on
yeah,
top
yeah,
of that, Ellen, like
yeah,
there's such value in like learning at a deep level why someone comes to a new community like Ninkwashi. Like, where are they coming from? Why are they choosing Ninkwashi? Why are they thinking about it? And what are the things that help them can move like their choice forward from maybe I'm the resident of a new community to for sure I'm a resident in this in this new city, and like here's how I see myself as part of something that's growing. So learning a bit more about the different types of folks that are basically the earliest plot owners in that city, and then thinking through the ones who are like actually like accelerating through their payment plan and are finishing that and are going to be starting to build their homes in the next 6 to 9 months, because that's the like growth curve that the city's on. Learning a little bit about the who and the why behind that stuff, I think is going to be like very direction giving to the design and development team here.
yep. So we're currently starting to give some thought to how a trip there would affect our development timelines and what we want to have to be able to actually get the best kind of information there. So I think we're generally thinking of a sprint of a roadmap that has some actual product built by the time we get there, so we can see how that's performing, and then screenshots and flows and diagrams of other things that we might be able to put in front of people to make the best use of the time while we're there. So you'll see all of the detail on that sort of mapped out, but I think given a chance, once you have a chance to look at that, that'll be a very good conversation. I think that may, let's see, was there anything else that we wanted to cover? I think that's it.
I think so too.
Great. Well, Sid, thank you for all your input and for just listening quietly during all of the feedback. Looking forward to talking to you tomorrow.
See ya.